past 24 hours or so since we were last together. We'll look ahead to today's Sunday schedule with 7 games coming up, playoff implications. 3/4 of the season is already passed. In fact, we're beyond that. There's 5 weeks left in the NHL regular season. We're loaded up with guests, too. Chris Peters from ESPN.com will join us to talk about some of the young talent in the NHL and on the way to the National Hockey League. Dallas Stars with an overtime victory on Saturday against the St. Louis Blues. Oh, St. Louis. But a big victory at home for the Dallas Stars. 3-2 was the final. Mike Heika covers the Stars for the Dallas Morning News. He will join us to get the latest on the Stars. Big Line was back together yesterday, and I like when that happens because they make it fun and they make it exciting. Also coming up on the program, Stephen Whyno covering the National Hockey League for the Associated Press. He was at the Olympics. He was at the outdoor game yesterday, and I got a lot of stuff to talk about with the outdoor game with Washington and Toronto. Stephen Whyno will join us later on in the program. And, of course, because it is Sunday, Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, fantasy help for you and your fantasy hockey pool as we get down to the final weeks of the season in fantasy hockey. Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, will be here with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. It's Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, live at HockeyUnfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, all powered by Primetime Radio. With thanks to those of you who have made the move with us. I had another tweet and comment yesterday is like, oh, we're in different locations this year. You're not where I used to listen to you. That's right. We've made the move away. We're completely independent and completely unfiltered. And we had a little disagreement. We had some questions about where we wanted to go with the future. Well, this is it, and we're looking forward to it, and it's fun and exciting. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Hopefully you're having a good Sunday. It is a busy weekend of hockey. We're moving closer to the conclusion of this season. It'll end 5 weeks from today, and that's because of a rescheduled game with the Boston Bruins and the Florida Panthers was postponed because of weather earlier in the year. They had to move it to Sunday in April, and 5 weeks from today, that'll be at the end of the NHL regular season. It's moving along at a breathtaking pace. It's been a busy weekend. There was 8 games on Saturday, had the outdoor game. There's 7 more today. It's the Academy Awards this evening. How did that sort of sneak up on you? Oscar nominations, I went through the list, and this is the first year in as long as I can remember that I haven't seen any of the Best Picture nominees. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how interested I am in it. Columbus and San Jose is the late game. That's a 9 p.m. Eastern start at 6 o'clock local time. So you could watch all day hockey, starts in the afternoon, and go right through. And then when you finish up with Columbus and San Jose, you could probably then jump over and watch the end of the Oscar telecast and still see all the big awards with, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Director, and Picture of the Year. Maybe Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty will get it right this year. Maybe they're giving them another chance to do that. But hopefully it's a good weekend and a good Sunday for you. Saturday, as I mentioned, was the final outdoor game of this NHL season. Toronto Maple Leafs and the Washington Capitals playing at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. It was 2 days of hysteria of how high is the wind going to be. Oh my goodness, it is windy outside. There's a nor'easter. There are wind warnings, and it was all over Friday. And They did have to cancel the outdoor practices that both of the teams normally take the day before. There were concerns and panic and worry and lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, it's windy. What are we going to do if it's windy? Well, as we said yesterday, all you have to do is look at the weather forecast, and the winds were going down by yesterday morning, and they hadn't diminished completely, and it wasn't perfectly still. And just as I said yesterday, it's like, you know what they're going to do? If it's a little bit windy, they stop the game halfway through the third period, they switch ends, and they move along. This is not new. This has happened before. Caps came out on top of the game. They took over, and it was okay. Well, the game was actually the weak link in all of that. There was a whole bunch of good stuff that happened in Saturday, and there were a lot of good stories in the NHL. That game itself was actually kind of the weak link. The outdoor game, the narratives being pushed forward before the game, the weather. Of course, it's always a focus, and it was wicked the day before. But look, we woke up Saturday morning. Oh yeah, that's 22, 23, 24 mile per hour winds. Brisk, but not ridiculous and unbearable, and they diminished further. Everything fine. We all moved on and moved forward. The pregame and leading up to the actual game last night between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Washington Capitals, it was all about how wonderful and how great and how fantastic it is. And there's military history and the significance. There's a cool story from TJ Oshie and how his grandfathers knew each other from serving in the Navy, and they knew each other before he actually met his wife and his family, and they were getting, that's kind of a cool story. Lots of attention paid to the Maple Leafs and their white uniforms. And it seems everybody either kind of went one way or the other. There wasn't really a lot of in between with these all white head to toe with minor little blue striping on the Maple Leafs uniform. You either seem to really, really like them, or it was like, yeah, I don't care for this at all. I really don't care for this at all. Now, I am pretty okay with trying something different, little something unique. I love the fluorescent colors that they've used during All-Star games. So I think that's cool. I'm good with using wild colors and different designs for teams to try, especially if it's a one-off. But these white things that the Maple Leafs were wearing, didn't really care for those. I have struggled with the white gloves that I've seen. Vegas has been wearing them this year. It's just not my favorite. It kind of was sort of, maybe if you want to think of it, just sort of the white lab coat, sterile lab technician look that the Maple Leafs were having. But it was even beyond that. It was even a step beyond that because they kind of looked like onesies or pajamas. If you were watching the game from the high angle, when it got up close, when they used the ice level cameras and up close cameras, you could see that it was socks and it was pants and it was sweaters. But when they used the high angle, it looked like it was just one giant piece. Even when teams wore Cooperalls, they were a different color from the sweaters. But this one, it looked like a onesie. It looked like pajamas. It looked like it should have the flap for your rear end for the quick escape. And I just didn't care for them. Not my thing. Some people liked them. I don't think we need to see them again. The pregame, though, the lead up and all the fun, the anticipation, the excitement, it's always pretty cool. 500 midshipmen standing out as the players arrive for the national anthem. It's great. The setting was best viewed from up high because they had the ice surface look like it was on top of an aircraft carrier. That's what it was meant to look like when you saw it from a high angle. Looked really cool, looked really terrific, making the stadium experience good. The flyover worked perfectly. 2 F-18s arrived just as the final notes of the Star Spangled Banner are being sung and played. It's perfect. I have a thing about flyovers when they do them and them not timing out right, because I've been to a few events where the national anthem ends and that's when the flyover is supposed to start. And for some reason, some people just can't seem to time it out properly. And I have no idea why. These planes fly at 1,000 miles per hour. They could take off halfway through the anthem and should be able to get there on time. Hits it right on the button, though. That was great. Would have been cool to see the Blue Angels because that's the Naval Air Force demonstration team, but they're based in Pensacola, Florida, so it's kind of a long flight. But it's great, the nice flyover and everything. It was good. A lot of fun. The U.S. Olympic men's curling team delivering the puck to center ice. That was great. Nailed it right on the button at center ice, and that's no easy task as well because the ice you curl on is very different from the ice you skate on. That was good. Introduced and honored the U.S. women's hockey team that won the gold medal. All fantastic. Chance to celebrate and recognize the great accomplishments of both of these groups. Lots of recognition. That's good. I'm all over that. The unexpected surprise that occurred in the third period, as I mentioned, because the winds were a little bit up there, not outrageous, didn't seem to impact the play at all. Slowed you a little bit if you're skating, of course. So you compensate by that and simply switch ends halfway through the third period. So the whistle blows, they're ready to switch ends. And just as they go to break, we'll have the commercial. The lights seem to go out in the stadium. Fluky power outage. It's really weird when stuff like this happens, but it does occasionally. So that delayed the start of the game a little bit. Or excuse me, the resumption of the game a little bit by about 15 minutes or so. It also pushed the conclusion of the game off the NBC main network and onto NBCSN. More on that coming up a little bit later. That was brutal. And of course, social media lights up, of course. You switch in the during an actual live event, you switch to another network. That's not ideal. Now, you'll notice I haven't said much about the game itself at all, and that's usually because there isn't a lot of memorable stuff that occurs in the game. And this one, well, it followed suit. Wasn't a great game. The outdoor games rarely are spectacular. As we're going through the first period of the one last night, I'm hoping, oh, great, there's 4 goals scored. That's good. Let's have a whole bunch of scoring. Maybe this is going to be the highest scoring game in outdoor game history. Let's see that. I'm in favor of that. Didn't really play out that way. Alex Ovechkin did get his 40th goal of the season. Congratulations. He continues to lead the Rocket Richard race, and I loved his comments afterwards. Asked about hitting 40 goals, 598 for his career. You know what? 40 is great, but 50 is even better. 40 is great, 50 is even better. There's still time to do that. His enthusiasm for goal scoring hasn't waned a bit since he's been in the NHL. Hasn't slowed down at all. It's been great. And remember, a couple of years ago, when Alex Ovechkin hit 500 goals for his career, and there were so many doubters that said, oh, well, it's great. We'll wonder how many he'll get, but there's no way he's getting to 700. Oh, yes, he is. He's going to leave 600 in his rearview mirror shortly. You wondered if he might do it last night. That would have been a game highlight. If he had scored the hat trick to hit 600, that would have been a game highlight. But no, he's a couple shy. He'll blow by 600 shortly. Still got a bunch of games left this year. Got a chance at 50. Love for him to get it. I'm not sure he will, but I would love for him to get it. But he'll hit 700. He'll be the 8th player to do it. Caps had a 3-goal lead and stretched things out. It looked at times like both teams during the third period just kind of wanted to run the clock and finish this thing up. It's like, okay, that's fine. We're done. Let's just get this done. However, the caliber of the game and the outdoor games, it is what it is. There's times that it seems a little bit slower, but it's okay. They're great events. And yes, the league should keep doing them. And the story, of course, out today that there are plans to hopefully do more at West Point, at the Air Force Academy. You'll see it. It's bound to happen. It's a nice fit. There's those that simply don't want any more outdoor games or say, well, maybe we can do the one on New Year's Day. They get a lot of attention. They make a lot of money. They're great, spectacular, fun events to be at. And when you get to see the whole game, they're good promotional events either. When your television broadcaster switches away in the third period, that's really not ideal. And you're going to take some heat for that, and understandably so. A little more on the TV aspect of it, all coming up. Lots more on the outdoor game coming up as well. Stephen Whyno was there covering it for the Associated Press. We'll talk to Stephen about the game, about the experience, about the teams involved, and where they go from here. Mike Babcock said, hey, we're practicing today. We weren't good enough. There wasn't enough effort on Saturday night, so we're going to be practicing on Sunday, and understandably so. Other spectacular games, dramatic games on Saturday. Pittsburgh and the Islanders, an overtime win. Boston over Montreal, an overtime win. Tampa Bay, Philadelphia. Oh my gosh, what a game. 7-6, Tampa comes up with a victory in the shootout, coming back from 2 multiple goal deficits to win. Don't look for the highlights, though, on the NHL Network, because you won't see them. More on that also coming up when we talk a little TV. Stephen Laidlaw later on in the program with this week's Fantasy 5. Mike Heika coming up with the latest on the Dallas Stars and their OT win over the St. Louis Blues. And in our next segment, Chris Peters from ESPN.com will join us. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to reach us. Much more to come on the program right after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition, here Saturdays and Sundays live at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming at the Hockey Unfiltered app on hockeyunfiltered.com. Check out our podcasts as well. You can subscribe through iTunes and iHeartRadio. Busy couple of hours ahead. Stephen Whyno will join us from the Associated Press. Stephen Laidlaw coming up, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Happy to welcome back to the program one of our favorites from ESPN.com, writing about the great young players and soon-to-be young players in the NHL. All the prospect news as well. Follow him on Twitter at Chris M. Peters. And Chris Peters joins us now. Chris, this is perhaps one of the best times in the NHL for young talent coming in. We're seeing the game becoming more skilled, more emphasis on skill, more emphasis on speed. And every young player that seems to be coming through the system now has plenty of that as they make their way through to the National Hockey League.
Oh yeah, no question. Thanks for having me, Todd. This is certainly a trend, a growing trend. We even saw it at the Olympics. The best players at the Olympics were the young guys, and that's kind of amazing to see that this is happening throughout the world. And we're seeing younger players have a bigger impact in the KHL, the Swedish Hockey League, out in Switzerland. I mean, it's really impressive to see these young guys come in. And I think, part of it is kind of the development that they've been getting at their respective teams. A lot of these guys do so much on their own now too, with skills coaches and skating coaches, and we've seen guys really improve their skills over the years, and they're coming in more and more prepared, and obviously we see guys make big impacts like Matthew Barzal and Charlie McAvoy. The list goes on and on with the rookies that have had tremendous success this year, and we're going to continue to see it. I think that the pools and the talent that becomes available at the draft, it's not always necessarily deeper, but the top end is just getting better and better.
And that's good news for all of us that are NHL hockey fans. And you mentioned McAvoy and Barzal. I think with Barzal's season, having 3 5-point games, that's probably going to be enough to clinch the Rookie of the Year award for him. But even yesterday, there were players that haven't received as much attention in the Rookie of the Year contest that are worth our attention now. Like Yanni Gourde of the Tampa Bay Lightning, his season has been terrific. And also Nolan Patrick of the Philadelphia Flyers kind of started off slow, but his role seems to be growing as the Flyers are getting better as the season moves along and now solidifying a playoff spot.
Yeah, no question. I mean, you look at the way that the Flyers have improved, and it's kind of, mirroring what's happening with their young player. And guys like Nolan Patrick, they have so much attention put on them right away, and it's, they're viewed as, this potential, franchise-changing player, or a guy that's going to make a difference right away. And so, he's an example of where it can take a little bit longer, but the fact that he's continued to develop throughout the season, development on the job is pretty difficult to do. There are some NHL teams that do it pretty well. And I think that's, the benefit of having a coach like Dave Haxtell, who had him sit down sometimes, but didn't necessarily ever really, punish him to the point where it's like, your confidence is shot. I think he kept giving him opportunities, and as his role continues to grow with this team, he's not going to win the Calder Trophy, but he's going to be an impact player or make, at least he'll bring value to a team that's trending towards the playoffs, and really, the fact that they had a chance to even win their division at this point is crazy, given the fact that kind of where they started. But I think having coaches like that have had kind of that development background, I think we're seeing it with John Hines as well in New Jersey, where he's giving his young players big opportunities and making sure that they don't lose their confidence. And he's had, he mentioned that Nico Hischier had to actually come to him and say, I think I need to sit down for a game. I think I need to watch, and I think I need, I'm not playing well enough to warrant a spot in the roster. And he's still, giving him an opportunity to play with Taylor Hall. That's really incredible to me that these coaches are starting to put more faith in these young players, and they're rewarding their coaches with the way that they're playing.
And I was just going to ask you about Nico Hischier too, because it was the Nolan and Nico thing going into the draft last year. We saw which way that it fell, and New Jersey wound up selecting Nico Hischier. But it's worked out that both are going to, as expected, have very long and successful careers, it looks like, in the NHL. And it's understandable, even more so now, when we go through the NHL trade deadline, as we did almost a week ago, why teams move talented veterans for draft picks and for prospects, because young players coming up have the skill and talent to help them rebuild quickly. And I just want to ask you about a couple of the different prospects that were moved over the last week. And the first one would be to the Ottawa Senators. There was a lot of talk about Philip Gustafsson, the goaltending prospect, and the Pens are pretty deep in good young goaltenders. And here's one that might be helping Ottawa in the years to come.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring him up, because I think we've seen him. This has been a remarkable year for him. It's his kind of breakout season. Not that he hadn't already been hugely successful. I mean, the fact that goalies in the second round, guys that go that high, are like the new first round goalies. There aren't too many that go there. It's a pretty kind of risky pick in the first round. But if you see guys start going in the second round, you might see a run on goalies in the second or third round. That's where you see kind of some of that value. And I think that he's one of those guys where, the Penguins obviously they don't have a very deep prospect pool, but one area where they're really good with young players is the goaltenders. And now Ottawa has their goalie of the future, and it's always tricky. He's the Directorate Award winner at the World Junior Championship. He's had a really good year in Sweden. He's putting up good numbers. I think he's going to be coming to North America next year. Probably, we'll spend some time in the American Hockey League. So there are going to be opportunities for him to continue to develop, and the AHL has obviously become just such a tremendous training ground for future NHL goaltenders, as we've seen with Matthew Murray. Andre Vasilevsky wasn't in there too long, but he had his time there. And pretty much every goalie at this point, it's very difficult to go directly from junior or European pros to the NHL. But Gustafsson is a kid that I think really has a bright future. He's a very athletic goaltender, very quick. He was a star for Sweden at the World Juniors, and I thought, he gave them every opportunity to win that gold medal game. Late goal again ends up, sinking them. But I'm really fascinated by what he can bring to a team that's going to potentially need him within the next 2 years, and possibly sooner if things kind of trend the way that they have with their goaltending this year.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to watch for the Ottawa Senators for a lot of reasons. Chris Peters is our guest from ESPN.com, covers young players and prospects. Follow him on Twitter at Chris M. Peters. Now, the Rangers were one of the busiest teams through the NHL trade deadline, moving out a lot of veterans, bringing in a lot of draft choices and a lot of prospects. One of the prospects being Ryan Lindgren, a defenseman. Now, when you empty out Ryan McDonough and Nick Holden and some other players on your roster, you're going to have good young players coming in. What does Ryan Lindgren potentially bring to the Rangers?
Yeah, well, I think he's got some development ahead of him. He's playing at the University of Minnesota. He's a very physical defenseman, much more defensive-minded. Doesn't have a ton of offensive skill. He's certainly trying. He's been working on it. I've seen him over the last 2 years really put a concerted effort into finding out how to jump into plays. He played in the last 2 World Junior teams for USA, so he's got 2 World Junior medals, including gold. He actually was sick for the gold medal game against Canada, and that was a pretty big loss for them because he was playing, top 4 minutes for them going into that game, and he wasn't able to play. He's a real physical kid, though. I mean, he loves to hit. I think that the games like against Canada, where he can be physical, he just loves those kinds of games, and he certainly has brought a physical element to a Minnesota team that's not often known as being, one of the toughest. So he adds that kind of hard-nosed element. But, I really like all the guys that they brought in for New York. I think that some people were disappointed with the returns, but, Rick Nash being a rental and Lindgren being involved in that one. The teams that they got prospects from didn't tend to give up their best prospects. But the other guy that I think that could have the best long-term potential in the whole thing is Libor Hayek from, he's currently playing for the Regina Pats, and he came over in the trade, the McDonough trade. And I think that he was one of my all-star selections for the World Junior Championship this year. He was the #1 defenseman for a Czech Republic team that really jumped out. He's big, he's rangy, he's got good mobility. He has much more offensive ability than a guy like Lindgren, but he takes care of his own end. Very good stick and closes gaps extremely well. So I think he's the kind of guy, there's a lot more long-term potential, but certainly I look at Lindgren as being a really good bottom pairing defenseman in the NHL to a potential top 4, depending on where their depth is. And then Hayek has that potential to be more of that top 4 guy, and it has a little more versatility. So I think they did well, but I think the most valuable things that they got were those first-round draft picks, and now they have 3 in the first round this year, which they can do a lot with.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the other trade I wanted to ask you about was the one that sent Thomas Plekanec from the Montreal Canadiens to the Toronto Maple Leafs, along with forward Kyle Bond. Now, coming back to the Montreal Canadiens, Kirby Reichel has kind of kicked around for a couple of years and hasn't really been able to break through and have an impact in the National Hockey League level. But they also picked up a defenseman in Renat Valiev from the Leafs. Is there potential for him to make his way, do you think, through to the Canadiens in a reasonably short period of time?
I think there certainly is an opportunity for Valiev over Reichel. I think Reichel is it's been a strange journey for him from being a first-round draft pick. But then you look at a guy like Valiev who kind of didn't have that pressure. Didn't have the pressure of being traded already as well. And now he's got this opportunity with Montreal where their depth situation is going to be a lot different than Toronto. So I think that he's absolutely has an opportunity. I don't know that he's going to be a huge impact prospect for them. As these guys get older and it takes them a little bit longer, and you kind of see, how are the numbers coming along in the AHL, and his are kind of been pretty stable. And I think that he certainly has an opportunity to do something there. But yeah, I think that was kind of a low risk move on Toronto's end because they were giving up guys that weren't part of their core prospect pool, and more, certainly it hurts the Toronto Marlies more than anybody else. But I think that's kind of where they were able to not pay too much for a rental player and a guy that, could potentially solidify their lineup as they prepare for a playoff run here. So I thought that it was a good deal for both sides just because I don't think there was going to be a ton of value going back the other way for Plekanec, and we'll have to see how that pans out. But I think Valiev absolutely has more upside between the two.
Just before I let you go, Chris, do you think too that it's a foregone conclusion Barzal's the Rookie of the Year?
I think at this point, yeah. I mean, it's just too hard to overcome the point total. He's one of only 5 rookies to average over a point per game. If he keeps that up, he'll be up there with Crosby, Malkin, Ovechkin, and McDavid. And McDavid didn't play a full rookie season, so to me, it's just ridiculous what he's doing. He's also carrying a second line for a team that. That's a hugely difficult job for any rookie to do, and he's the one really driving the bus on that line. I just think there's too much about him this year in the production that it's going to be really difficult for anybody to overtake him at this point. Certainly, Besser is going to get a lot of attention. Charlie McAvoy definitely deserves, I think, a lot of top 3 consideration, possibly top 2 consideration. But it's going to be very difficult given the point total and kind of the high-profile things that Barzal has done, like the 5-point games, the various highlight reel goals and assists that he has had this year. So, I'll be one of the voters on those awards. He would be my pick at this point.
Yeah, that's pretty understandable. Chris Peters from ESPN.com at Chris M. Peters is how you follow him on Twitter. Always enjoy it, Chris. Appreciate the time and look forward to having you back again soon.
All right. Thanks, Todd. Good to be with you.
Chris Peters from ESPN.com. That's a great statement about all the good young talent that's coming through in the National Hockey League and some of the names that we'll be looking for in years to come that were moved at the deadline, whether it's prospects and eventually the draft picks will be coming along as well. Lots to get to on the Sunday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handle. Stephen Whyno coming up from the Associated Press. He covers the National Hockey League. We'll talk a little bit about the outdoor game from last night and other NHL stories. Stephen Laidlaw with the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Help for you and your fantasy hockey pool. And right after the break, Mike Heika from the Dallas Morning News will join us. We'll talk about the Stars, their big victory in OT over the St. Louis Blues on Saturday, and much more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you missed the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with Seat Giant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, all powered by Primetime Radio. Busy program coming up. Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press. We'll talk about the Caps and Leafs and the outdoor contest from Saturday night. Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DauberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5. Hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. And always happy to welcome back a man who covers the Stars for the Dallas Morning News. You can follow him on Twitter at Mike Heika, and he joins us on the line now. Mike, that was quite a game yesterday between the Stars and the St. Louis Blues. A big exhale when it was all done. Stars come out victorious, and the captain snaps his stick in triumph after he scores the game-winning goal. That's the kind of game that I think a lot of teams can get some momentum and a big boost from.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend in the press box, and I said, I'd just like a sign that they're really engaged in this, because the start of the game was sloppy, and they've had a few, sloppy starts during this homestand, and Jamie Benn has been sort of struggling. He's an 11-game goal drought, and there's just little things. Ben Bishop have a fantastic game. Ben Bishop would have a bad game, and so I'm like, I'd like a sign that they're really starting to step up into this playoff run. And that was the end of the game, pretty much. They tie the game on just a fantastic play by the four best players: Klingberg to Ben to Sagan to Radulov, and then Radulov stays out the next shift. That was with like 2 minutes left. Radulov stays out on that next shift, and then he kind of creates a goal for Devon Shore, but then that one got waved off. And then they still come back and they win it, and they dominated the overtime. So, there was just a stretch there of 8 to 10 minutes of fantastic hockey, and a sign that maybe they really are getting into this, and they can raise their game as they go down the stretch towards the playoffs.
Yeah, because it had seemed as though you mentioned the back and forth, a good game, a bad game. The Stars had kind of hit the 3/4 mark of the season, and whereas much of this year I thought they were kind of moving in the right direction, it seems as though they just kind of hit the ceiling, hit the wall, however you want to phrase it. But you needed more from them because the competition in that Central Division is going to be so tough just to get into the postseason and get the best possible seeding. And then once you get into the first round of the playoffs, it's going to be a real battle for any of the teams that you might face.
Yeah, definitely. And then, obviously the Nashville run of late shows that they made some trades. They get Mike Fisher back. They seem to be making their push right now. And they're, starting to become that team that went to the Stanley Cup Finals. And then the Stars, you might as well play 100 games against Winnipeg, and they might not be able to win one. So they're scared to death of that matchup, I think. So yes, they need to raise their game to get up to Nashville and Winnipeg if they're gonna try and come out of the Central Division.
Were you surprised that Dallas didn't make a move at the deadline to maybe pick up a little help in one particular area?
Yes and no. I wasn't surprised because I talked to enough people who said they're just not going to do it. They don't want to give up what the asking prices were, and for some of them, obviously they were through the roof. Obviously, I think they would have loved to have gone after Pacioretty or Hoffman or a guy who really could be here for a couple of years. Who one would have a contract beyond this year, and two might have interest in staying even beyond that. Not go get a rental. So I think they were having conversations in that realm of a guy who could be here for a while. And it didn't work out. So that, that's fine. That you take your swing and you get what you get. But then the other thing is when guys when New Jersey goes and gets Grabner or gets Maroon, and the cost seemed extremely reasonable, that is a little bit frustrating because they do need some depth on the wings right now. And, the other thing is Brett Ritchie and Devon Shore both were struggling. And, I think most of the fans would not have minded either one of them going the other way to get a guy like Grabner or Maroon. So, I was a little bit surprised by that. But the people inside have said, look, we believe in Ritchie. We believe in Shore. We believe they're going to up their game. And the last 2 or 3 games since the trade deadline, Ritchie and Shore have been 2 of their better players. So, maybe they're smarter than we are, and that Ritchie and Shore really will step it up. But yeah, I was surprised at the price for Grabner and Maroon that they wouldn't have gotten at least one of those guys.
Yeah, and especially Grabner because of the speed, and Dallas is a team that likes to use speed occasionally. But maybe we can also interpret this lack of a deadline deal as the Stars believing that they are just, after last year, entering the window opening for them to be a top team and a competitive team and be successful with predominantly what they've got on the roster for a few years to come.
I agree with that to some extent, but I also think they had that attitude a couple of years ago with Lindy. And, when they got to the second round of the playoffs and they had the most points in the Western Conference. And I think they kind of believed that then. And now we're 3 years down the line and we're completely restructuring again. And the other thing is Jamie Benn's 28, 29 years old. You've got some interesting decisions to make with guys like Spezza and, Hamhuis and Patterson. And, so the way they're constructed now, they want to win now. And, Radulov probably, he's not going to just fall off the map, but he's 31. And, some of these guys are in the prime of their career. And to think, okay, we've got another 2 or 3 more years to make this work. I don't know. I'll go back to the Dallas Mavericks. They had their window. They missed it. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, the pieces came together and then they won the NBA championship. And the point on that is at any point in time, you could have a team that could win a championship. And so to sit there and say, okay, we're not going to go for it right now because we think this is going to happen or this is going to happen. To me, that's a little bit frustrating as a fan because, yes, Miro Heiskanen could be really good, or Julius Honka could be really good, but it's just there's a lot of experience that needs to be gained for those things to happen going forward. And so if you have they built this team to win now. And you look at the summer, they added veteran players. Ben Bishop is 30, 31. I don't know that he's going to be getting better as these things go along. So they built it to win now. Then, if it takes just a small trade or two to continue that message to the fans that we really do want to win now, and to the players and the coaches, I don't understand why you wouldn't make a move like that. I think it really came down to they didn't want to give up any of their prospects. They didn't want to give up a good prospect who's playing right now, like Richie or Shore. They didn't want to give up a prospect like Gurianov or Honka or anybody else. And so, if you're going to have that attitude, and they clearly didn't want to give up draft picks because they're hosting the draft, then it's going to be really hard to make it. And so that's what I think it came down to, is they just valued their kids and their draft picks way too much.
Mike Heika is our guest, covers the Stars for the Dallas Morning News. At Mike Heika is how you follow him on Twitter. Stars with a big overtime victory against the St. Louis Blues on Saturday. Ottawa Senators are next up. Can you just please tell Ken Hitchcock again, we would like to see Tyler Seguin, Alexander Radulov, and Jamie Benn play on the same line for the rest of the season. I know they're going to have ups and downs, but I love watching those three guys play together, and I was happy when he reunited them earlier.
Yeah, it's funny. We have a little argument about this. I think Alexander Radulov reunited them because he was playing on a line with Matthias Janmark and Devin Shore, and they were out on the ice. And then all of a sudden, here comes Seguin, here comes Ben, and Radulov just stays out there. He stayed out there for a minute 37 or minute 27. And, it's just, I think he showed them, hey, we're pretty good together. And then Ken got, said, okay, well, let's go back to that here at the end of the game. And then even at the end of the game, Radulov scores the game tying goal, and then is still out there with Janmark and Shore on what they were hoping was going to be the go-ahead goal. So, he had a fantastic game. I do think Ken's going to try and keep that line together as much as he can, but he believes that other lines need some help. And so if Alexander Radulov can go to that line and help them out, or Jamie Benn can go to another line and help them out, he's going to try and do that too, I think. And the other thing is every single game has been different, and he coaches the game that's on the ice. So you just have no idea what he's thinking when he's out there. He could say, oh, I like Brett Ritchie's game. And now Brett Ritchie's playing with Seguin and Ben. And so it's just, that's how he is. And probably what makes him a Hall of Fame coach is that he can read a game. So, you just have to hold on to your seat and just watch what he does.
Yeah, and I guess that makes sense, especially once you get into a playoff series, that if for whatever reason that top heavy line isn't going on one particular day, or a team is having success against them one day, you're going to have to find other ways to score, and you're going to have to find other ways to generate offense, and sometimes that's going to mean breaking them up.
Yeah, and the other thing is what Ken keeps pushing and pushing and pushing is competitive puck battles on every single line. 4 lines, competitive puck battles. We got to win the 50-50s. And if Alexander Radulov's out there winning 50-50s, well, then he's going to play on more than one line. Or, Ken will let Ben and Seguin take care of this line, and then I'm going to boost up this other line with Radulov or whatever he wants to do. But he clearly wants every single line to be going as much as he can. Yesterday was more of a 3-line game, but it was, he will jockey things to inject energy in addition to offensive ability, but energy to win puck battles, because he believes by winning puck battles, you are a better defensive team. And so a lot of what is gauged at keeping the puck out of the net as well.
I'm just wondering if Radulov shifts are going to rival those of Sergei Zubov or Brett Hull at some point.
I did a story on it actually yesterday. Brett Hull dropped the puck. It's just a part of the 25th 25 years in Dallas celebration. They're doing it all year, and they're bringing back old guys and honoring them, and they have autographs, and they drop the puck and have a nice video during the game. And it was Brett Hull yesterday. And so I asked Ken on Friday, you gave Brett Hull a little bit of wiggle room. Are you doing the same thing with Radulov? And he goes, I give them a lot of wiggle room because they are special players. And so, yes, Alexander Radulov, if he wants to stay out late, if he wants to change shifts, if he wants to do things a little bit different, as long as they're helping with the team mission, which I think he does, then Ken's going to let him freelance quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's good for everybody because it's successful for the Stars and it's fun for us to watch as well. Mike Heika from the Dallas Morning News with the latest on the Dallas Stars. At Mike Heika is how you follow him on Twitter. Great stuff as always, Mike. I appreciate the time and hopefully we can do it again soon. Thank you.
Anytime, Todd. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike Heika, covering the Dallas Stars for the Dallas Morning News. It was a dramatic victory for the Stars, who took over the game in overtime to get the victory. Comeback, the tying goal from Alexander Radulov, and then Jamie Benn wins it in overtime fashion. That's a great comment by Mike as well, thinking just like, I need them to show us a sign. Give us a sign. Show us a sign. Let me think of the Monty Python movie, Life of Brian, where they're following Brian. Show us a sign. Give us a sign. And he loses his sandal. And it's like, he wants us all to take off our shoes. No, he wants us to worship his shoe. Give us a sign. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. A busy hour plus left on the show. Coming up, Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press will join us with the latest from the outdoor game that took place on Saturday night. Capitals, Maple Leafs. Maybe you watched it on television. Maybe you watched a good portion of it on television, but missed the end of it. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up. And Stephen Laidlaw as well with this week's Fantasy 5. Hashtag Fantasy 5. Help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with more after the break.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design, and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit NovaProductDesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HUDogoftheDay. Send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
Sunday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis continues. One more hour to go. Stephen Whyno will join us from the Associated Press, talking National Hockey League. He was at the outdoor game yesterday. Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, also coming up with this week's Fantasy 5. Hashtag Fantasy 5. Some help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, of Twitter and Instagram handles. Mention that the outdoor game, final one of the season, Toronto Maple Leafs, Washington Capitals. They're cool events. I like them. I know people make a stink about them, saying, oh, there's too many. What are we doing that for? They draw attention. They make a lot of money. They're cool events to attend. They get big crowds. It makes sense. It's a good chance to promote and sell your game. Nice schmooze for your sponsors, bringing them to the games and letting them enjoy the experience. And those of us that are watching on television like to enjoy the experience sometimes too. You're not going to get the big ginormous Stanley Cup final kind of numbers or giant sporting event sort of numbers with them, but you will get an audience of a certain amount at least, and it's worth putting on television. So the thing with Saturday's outdoor game between the Maple Leafs and the Capitals at the Naval Academy is that they had the unexpected delay in the third period. There was a power outage. The lights went out halfway through the third period, just as they had stopped to switch ends. They were doing that because of the conditions, because of the wind. But this was problematic for NBC as the game was now going to run long. It was going to run past the 11 p.m. Eastern time window that they wanted to squeeze it into so that their local affiliates could get their local news shows on right at 11, right on time, and then Saturday Night Live, which was back with a new episode, could air on time in the Eastern time zone. And that's what this is all about, is ratings. So what, of course, did NBC do? Well, they switched the conclusion of the game, 5 minutes or something left in the game, to NBCSN. This is not good. This is a true indication of how much your product is valued by your TV broadcaster. No, I did not say TV partner. This is TV broadcaster. Sure, it's a game that has been pretty much decided. The Washington Capitals are in control. The Maple Leafs don't look like they're mounting any sort of comeback, but you don't switch from a live event. This is not good. This is not good. This is not a positive indicator of how highly the NHL is regarded. It's bad. This is how much or how little you are valued. It's like, okay, we got these 3 hours. That's great. We'll fit you in. We love you. Yes, this is good. We'll put you on network TV. It's Saturday night, the lowest rated night of the year or of the week for TV. We'll stick you on. Oh, you're going to run long? Yeah, we're bumping you off. No, sorry. Getting you off. Can't do that. What? You got to have Saturday Night News and Saturday Night Live run at time? Yeah, this is a problem. You're regarded not the same way the NFL is because they never switch from the NFL. You're regarded in the same way as the XFL. The other indicator about how much you are valued or not valued is the priority level the network gives you and how much you bend over backwards to accommodate them for scheduling. U.S. TV rules, U.S. network TV especially rules. NBC wants their weekend games to start at noon or 12:30 when they air them. So that's why we get morning starts in Chicago, in St. Louis, in Nashville, because NBC, when they are televising hockey, they want it on early because that works for them in terms of all the other properties that they have. And that means you're starting games at 11 or 11:30 if you're playing them in St. Louis or you're playing them in Chicago or you're playing them in Nashville. Think this kind of thing happens in Canada? No way. Not a chance. But there's no other way around it. It's unfortunate. This will be dismissed and moved away quickly as this was procedure during an unexpected overrun. It shouldn't really affect things going forward. Shouldn't you have some sort of agreement that you can show the full telecast? This wasn't even the circumstances that occurred a couple of years ago. I mean, this was to get to local news and a late night show. Saturday Night Live. Oh yeah, that's great. It's a new episode and everything. That's great. It's a late night show. But no, we got to get to that. This isn't even the same situation that occurred a couple of years ago during the playoffs when NBC decided, yeah, we're switching away. We're getting you off the network because we got horse racing coming up. Actually, it wasn't even horse racing. It's the pre-race show for horse racing. That's the frustrating part. We love you. We love you. Love you. As long as you fit into this little contained box and these parameters, and you're willing to start games in the morning in some time zones, then we're willing to put you on TV. That's tough. That's frustrating. That's the difficult part. And once again, I will mention my ongoing objection to the NHL PR network and how they produce their show. I am not saying this to gripe and only gripe, but I don't think you're serving your fans well. The small number that subscribe to your network. There was an unbelievable game on Saturday between the Flyers and the Lightning. It's back and forth. The Lightning come back from multiple goal deficits twice. Stamkos has a career game. Vasilevsky was fantastic. Nikita Kucherov returns from injury. He's the scoring leader. Philadelphia Flyers have been an incredible story. They lost 10 games in a row earlier this year. They have battled back not just to get into the playoff picture, but fight for their division lead. Nolan Patrick is starting to rip it up and come of age. He scores. And what happens on the NHL PR network? We can't show all those goals. We don't have time for that. Yeah, that's a lot of scoring. 7-6 final with the shoot. That's a lot of scoring. We don't have time for that. Really. You don't have time to show one of the best games, one of the most exciting games of the season, all the highlights and all the scoring from it. Yet you make time in your what you call your signature show for video bumper highlights to push and create the narrative that you like, to run the same top 10 feature at almost the same time during every program that runs about 4 or 5 minutes long. Oh no, we got to make time for that. That's not serving your audience. There is no need to run this every single day. Some poor coverage from the outdoor game, which basically is two guys saying for 3 minutes, oh, it was great. It was fantastic. It was really good. What a great time. What a great atmosphere. I understand that there's 31 teams that you've got to show and you have to acknowledge, and all the teams that are playing on any given night, you have to highlight them and give them some attention. I get it. But that is an example of not giving your fans what they want. And I'll give you another one too. Your statistical graphics are terrible and incomplete. On so many games on a nightly basis, the scoreboard graphics to summarize the game are incomplete. They don't show all the goal scorers. They don't show all the points that were acquired by players, whether it's assists or goals. It's terrible. Do you not think that people are interested in who scored and who assisted on goals? It's terrible. How can you not show that for every game? I am not just grumbling. This is not just sour grapes, because I gave you props a week ago for the terrific feature you did on Luke Richardson's daughter and the Do It for Darren campaign. It was fantastic. It was 8 minutes and it was worth every second of it. But you are not serving your fans. You should get your act together on some of this stuff. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles to reach us. One more hour to go. Busy one. We'll talk a little bit more about the outdoor game and some of the other great games from Saturday. We'll look ahead to a busy Sunday schedule, because there's a nice schedule of 7 games on a Sunday. We'll get into that, some other stories as well. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with our new number 2 after the break.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Hour number 2 set to go. First hour was a busy one, good one. Lots of good hockey talk. More up ahead. Nice 8-game schedule on Saturday. Some really dramatic games too. Overtime games, shootout, and a nice Sunday schedule as well. It gets going in the afternoon, continues into the evening. Joining us in this hour, Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press, covering the National Hockey League. The discussion of the outdoor game that took place Saturday night. Generally, I like the outdoor games. It's good. You don't have one a week and stuff, but they're good events. It's fine. This one was never really in doubt for very long, with the Washington Capitals coming up with a big 5-2 victory over the Toronto Maple Leafs. And also coming up this hour, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5. Hashtag Fantasy 5. Help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. This week's going okay. It's not bad. Kind of leading. After today, there's a lot of games. Should work out okay. Fingers crossed that things. I do have something to ask Stephen about, though. He sent out a tweet last night that I noticed that I have some dire concerns about in terms of fantasy. So we'll get to all that and much more all coming up. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, live Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, all powered by Primetime Radio. A busy day, a busy weekend in the NHL. It's Oscar night. I haven't seen any of the movies. It's hard to get excited about the Oscars when you haven't seen any of the movies. First time in I don't know how long that I haven't seen any of the movies, but we are screaming towards the conclusion of the NHL season. 5 weeks from today, one game that was rescheduled. It's going to be the Florida Panthers and Boston Bruins. Had to reschedule it earlier in the year because of weather. Then that'll be it. Couple of days to catch your breath, and away we go. 2 months of playoff hockey. Not trying to get ahead of ourselves, but there's still a lot to be sorted out in both the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference before we get into the postseason. But going back to some of the games on Saturday, watching the highlights, reading, doing a little analysis, Saturday might be an important and significant day of this NHL season. Usually after the season is over, you'll kind of catch your breath and look back on whether it's your favorite team or another team, and you'll find a moment during the year that changed their course. Or in some cases was the real indicator that, yes, this was what's going to happen. This is the true indicator that, yes, this is going to be our fate. St. Louis Blues, for instance, they've been struggling for a while. They snapped out of their losing skid this past week, and then had a heartbreaking loss to the Dallas Stars in overtime. Looked like St. Louis might hold on and win. Alex Radulov tied it up late. Jamie Benn wins it in overtime. Does that seal their fate that they might be the team that misses the playoffs? New York Islanders got dumped at home on Friday by the Montreal Canadiens. That made it 5 straight losses for the New York Islanders. The struggles. Then, getting the short end of the scheduling, they had to travel to Pittsburgh for a late afternoon start on Saturday. Now, give the Isles all the credit in the world for coming up with all the effort that they can, trying to generate some energy, trying to generate some emotion, had the lead into the third period, and then it went away. Penguins tie the game up late. Derek Brassard, Sidney Crosby, game winner, overtime. through goaltender Chris Gibson to win. I believe he's playing in his 5th NHL game. Yes, both teams have stumbled, but this is the kind of punch for St. Louis, for the Islanders, that just might break your determination and you succumb. The other side is momentum is sometimes gained during the season. There's a key moment, there's a key game. We talked about this in the last hour with Mike Heika regarding the Dallas Stars. Maybe that game against St. Louis was the sign for them that, yes, they understand the level and the intensity they have to play with to win on a consistent basis. But the momentum, maybe it's shifting in the other way for the New York Rangers. Jeff Gorton, the general manager, who has dismantled that team leading up to the trade deadline, sending out a lot of their roster to other teams, to other contenders to play on, thinking that, yes, we'll sacrifice this season for future seasons of success. And then as the Rangers head out to Western Canada, sure, they're not the best teams in the league, but bang, bang, bang. New York Rangers rip off 3 straight victories against Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton. Henrik Lundqvist, in 2 of those games, makes better than 50 saves to secure the victory. Saturday night, Rangers get 2 quick goals in the second period, hold off the Edmonton Oilers, and a very determined Connor McDavid. Boy, did he look good on the ice last night against the Rangers, but he couldn't carry the team. Boy, oh boy, is Connor McDavid fun to watch, though. I don't know that the Rangers are going to make it, but good for them for showing a lot of determination and kind of the, you might think we're going to wither away here this season, but we're not having any of it. Good for them. And the Edmonton Oilers, another thing about that game last night against the New York Rangers on Saturday night, it happened again. It happened again for the Edmonton Oilers. First shot goes in the net. That's happened 13 times this season for the Edmonton Oilers. Are you kidding me? 13 times the first shot on goal goes in? That can't happen. That just can't happen. Man, oh man. Boston Bruins, I'm sure one of the teams that would like to just kind of fast forward the season, get to the end of the regular season. Yep, okay, we're in a good spot. Yes, we talked about this a bit yesterday. Sure, there's the possibility that they might catch the Tampa Bay Lightning. They've got a few games in hand. They're a few points behind. If you win those games, you're neck and neck. It's nice, but realistically, how hard are you going to push for top spot in that division? With your final number of games, you have more games than only everybody else except for one. Boston Bruins would just like to get through the rest of the regular season uninjured, I think. Patrice Bergeron already out, couple of weeks anyway with a broken bone in his foot. Okay, he'll be back in plenty of time. But then in the game on Saturday against the Montreal Canadiens, Charlie McAvoy plays one shift and he's done. Won't be returning, no further update. How troublesome is that for the Boston Bruins? We don't need this. Let's just move this along. Let's get to the end of the regular season. They've got 19 games left, including in the one makeup game, as I mentioned, on April the 8th versus the Florida Panthers. Panthers have 20 to go. They're the only team with more games remaining than the Boston Bruins. Hey, give Montreal some props for the game yesterday, too. No Carey Price, no Shea Weber. Both Max Pacioretty and Victor Mete were injured on Friday against the New York Islanders, and they showed up to Boston and gave all that they could. They gave all that they could, and it looked like it might hold up for a while. Anthony Niemi stopped a crap ton of shots. Montreal looked like they might cling to that 1-0 lead, but then Jake DeBrusk pounds home a rebound. That ties it up. And of course, who's going to score the game-winning goal in OT? Brad Marchand. The Islanders, oh, this is a tough one for them. Oh, that's a tough one for them. The struggles have continued. A 5 p.m. start against Pittsburgh. And same thing. First shot on goal, just over a minute into the game. Tristan Jarry, it goes in. Now, remember the Pens' previous game against the Boston Bruins. Casey DeSmith, Tristan Jarry, neither one of them can stop any pucks. So they're thinking, okay, let's have a reset. We'll start Jarry. We'll hopefully have a good game. We'll settle down. We'll get off to a good start. We're playing the Islanders. They've been struggling. Hopefully things will go okay. First shot winds up in the net, and everybody's going, uh-oh, here we go again. Let's hope this is not the sign of things to come. Just how soon is Matt Murray going to be coming back into our lineup? They did settle down, though. Patrick Hornquist tied it up. Anders Lee gave the Isles the lead again, and they looked like they were going to hopefully try and hang on and get a victory, but, went away. Derek Brassard ties the game in the third period, and the two teams in the final minutes, it looked like, yeah, let's get one, and then we'll see what happens. That's frustrating sometimes. As you're watching a game, you've got two teams that are just kind of almost going through the motions. Let's just make sure that we get 1 point. We don't want to come out of here with nothing. We had the lead. We gave it up. We sure don't want to come away with nothing. Let's get at least one. And if we get two, then that'll be a bonus. But we got to get at least one. That's what it looked like for a while. Then, of course, overtime starts. Penguins get a penalty. Then Sidney Crosby holds onto the puck in a 2-on-1. Chris Gibson playing in his 5th NHL game. Boom. Crosby just kind of looked over. I might pass. Goalie has to respect it. And then whammo, it's in the net. Gibson stopped like 50 shots, though. Good for him. And some tremendous chances by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Tristan Jarry faced 27 shots. He did settle down after that first one went in because that was a little frightening. Uh-oh, here we go again. And if you're watching the Pens broadcast of this game, Bob Airy, the analyst who works with Steve Mears, Bob Airy will often work between the benches for Pittsburgh Penguins home games and will do interviews with the Penguins players when it's permittable during the TV timeouts. We see that sometimes on the local broadcast. So Bob Airy interviews Derek Brassard, newest Penguin. He's in the lineup. Penguins are trailing at this point, looking to get a goal, looking to get back into it. And sure enough, Derek Brassard scores the goal. Bob Airy's got an unbelievable record when this kind of thing happens. Yep. And mentioned it at the broadcast. You know, lots of guys that I do the interview with, they go out, score a goal, tie it up. Sure enough, that's what Brassard did. Did the Chicago Blackhawks have a big comeback against the LA Kings, or did the Kings give it away? Well, according to John Stevens, the head coach of the Los Angeles Kings, it's pretty clear. LA's up. Looked like they're going to cruise home in the third period. Everything's fine. Hawks come back and win 5-3. John Stevens summed it up. I think it's pretty obvious. Let's not deny the elephant in the room. Totally undisciplined play today. We let them back into the game. It's totally unacceptable. The Pacific is going to be a fun watch going down the stretch into this final quarter of the season. You got LA, you got Anaheim, you got San Jose, who are jockeying for position. I'm not sure that anybody is catching the Vegas Golden Knights, even though they've had a couple of little struggles as of late. I'm not sure that anybody is catching the Vegas Golden Knights in the Pacific Division. Still an 8-point lead over the San Jose Sharks, but then LA is just 2 points back. Anaheim has 76 points, holding down one of the wild card spots. Those three California teams are going to be jockeying for position. And how important is home ice going to be for those three teams? You want to finish in second. That way, in the first round, you are not facing potentially the Vegas Golden Knights or one of the powerhouse teams from the Central Division if you're a wild card team. You have home ice, you want to finish in second. That is going to be a fun battle between those three teams, San Jose, Los Angeles, and Anaheim, going down the stretch. And you can't even say for sure that it's going to be all three California teams that are going to make the playoffs yet. That's why John Stevens was so upset giving up that game to the Chicago Blackhawks. 2 points would have had them pull even with the San Jose Sharks, still would have remained in third because they played more games. But they're only 1 point ahead of Anaheim at 76, and Colorado is just a single point back. Even St. Louis and all their struggles, just a single point back from the wild card spot. that playoff battle is going to be fun to watch. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Stephen Laidlaw coming up with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. And in the next segment, Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press, talk a little bit about the outdoor game last night, the whole spectacle, the whole idea of outdoor games, and whatever else we can get into as well with Stephen, and a few other things. We'll look ahead to today's schedule and some other stories that we haven't been able to touch on yet as well. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with more after the break.
The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app. It's powered by Primetime Radio. Before the hour is out, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, will be with us for this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, some help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Pleased to welcome him back to North America after a whirlwind tour of the Olympics, and also want to get some thoughts on the outdoor game last night from Stephen Whyno, who covers the National Hockey League for the Associated Press. Follow him on Twitter at @swhyno, and he joins us on the line now. Steve, just give me your thoughts first of all on the game itself. I like the outdoor games. I wasn't big on the all white uniforms. They're not my thing, but they're great. They're a spectacle. Caps clearly were the better team in this game, but there were always people that think, oh, these are not very good, and why do we have so many? But they draw attention, they make money, and it's probably a pretty positive thing to do for your league.
Sure, and it is. And if it wasn't for maybe the power outage with 10 minutes left and a lot of NBC affiliates switching over to local news over the game, it's good exposure for the NHL in a country where it does get overshadowed by the NFL and other sports, that you get a spotlight like that and you get the pageantry of the Naval Academy and those sort of things. There's a positive benefit to that. And for 2 periods, it was a good game. It was back and forth and a lot of goals early on in this game. It was fun. The third period kind of anticlimactic. A lot of fans had left at that point. But certainly an entertaining game to say the least.
Yeah, especially early on, I was hopeful in the first period that we were perhaps going to see the highest scoring outdoor game ever, but it seemed as though it started to shift towards the Washington Capitals in the second period, and then in the third period, I got the feeling at times that both teams would just kind of like it to be over. I'm curious though that a lot of people had left in the third period, as you said. Is that because of the temperatures, the weather, the cool? It just kind of had dragged on too long. I'm a little curious about that.
Sure, and I think it was a lopsided result combined with the weather more than anything. It was windy, it was cold. Certainly down in the stands, it was the conditions weren't great. Players said it was okay, and not terribly windy, but certainly when you've got fans there and it's a 5-2 game, and then you've got the delay in the third period, I understand why people kind of called it a night rather early in that game. I wouldn't have. I'm not a leave early kind of person very often if I'm going to a game as a fan, but I understand that. But you know what? For 2 periods, it was a very entertaining game, and you can see why the Leafs have a future. You can see why the Capitals have been such a good team for such a long time. And as Mike Babcock said, they still see us as kids, and they looked like kids last night. That was a show of force by a veteran Capitals team used to outdoor games, and really raising their game to a big stage like that.
Yeah, and I think you're going to naturally wonder, I think too, would the fate of the Maple Leafs been a little bit different if Auston Matthews had been in the lineup? Because we saw what a force he was in the outdoor game last year that they played against the Detroit Red Wings, but also what a force he can be. And would the result of this game had been different? And to your point as well, that's why the Leafs have such a promising future.
Sure, and Auston Matthews, we knew he wasn't going to be in this game. The shoulder injury is going to knock him out at least for the Buffalo game on Monday, but the depth is there. Once Auston Matthews is back, they can go Matthews, Kadri, Bozak, Buchanan right down the middle, and that's an unbelievable amount of depth for this team. Auston Matthews, we know he's a star. He still leads the team in goals despite missing 13 games this year. It might have been very different.
The other thing that I think is interesting, and the reason to be optimistic about the Maple Leafs, is Mike Babcock in his comments post-game saying they look at us and think we're still kids, and it's time that we put in the work that we didn't do last night. He's expecting them to practice today and kind of pushing a day off back, because he understands that this is maybe an opportunity for his team to learn and to grow and to take another step forward. And
it should be, and understandably, like, this was not a good performance by the Maple Leafs last night. And I understand why Mike Babcock would say, you know what, we're going to practice today. And this is a young team, and this is the coach who's signed for a long time, who's ready to teach lessons to very young players, probably needed at this point in their careers.
The other part of the equation, of course, the Washington Capitals, as you mentioned, a veteran team, a talented team, now a couple of points ahead of the Philadelphia Flyers in the Metropolitan Division. I don't know, it still seems like this is a little bit of a surprise to see the Caps on top of that division. We were all curious at the start of the year what they would be like. We've seen them continue to get better as the season has moved along. And I don't know, maybe this is the year after all the pressure's off the Washington Capitals that they have their most successful run in the postseason.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that Barry Trotz has said is maybe they're under the radar, and that's not a terrible thing right now. They don't have the pressure of being championship contenders. They don't have to be that. But this is a good team, and if Braden Holtby and Alex Ovechkin are great, this team can win the Stanley Cup this year.
And I want to talk about Alex Ovechkin too, because yes, he's got 40 goals, and yes, he's leading the scoring race, but I'm still not sure that it's recognized as to how good and talented a player he is when he is out on the ice. And his enthusiasm, as much as anything, is still there.
He is, and he's going to get 50 goals this season at this point. That's where we're sitting on right now. We said last night, 40 goals is good, 50 is better, and he really does have a chance at this point to score 50. And at age 32, that's an impressive showing. Like, guys don't do this. Like, this is just Ovechkin, Jerome McGinley, and Mike Bossy. Like, guys don't do this the way Ovechkin scores like this.
No, it's been fun to watch. So where do you see their biggest challenge coming from in the Metropolitan Division? Is it going to be Pittsburgh, or is Philadelphia going to continue to surprise?
Yeah, you know what? It's such an unpredictable division at this point. You don't know whether the Penguins or the Flyers, Devils, the Blue Jackets, the Hurricanes can make the playoffs at this point. And And it really, at this point, it comes down to matchups. And if they get the Penguins in the first round, it's going to be tough. The Flyers, I think they could beat in the first round series. But you know what? This is the Capitals every year is they have a chance to win a Stanley Cup or they have a chance to lose in the first round. And they certainly have the talent to go far in the playoffs, but it's going to depend on what matchup they're able to draw in the first 2 rounds.
Stephen Whyno is our guest, covers the National Hockey League for the Associated Press. At @Whyno is how you follow him on Twitter. Stephen was also at the Olympics, and I'm not sure if you know what time zone you're in yet, but give us kind of an overview as someone who was at the Olympics and got the Olympic experience on the men's side, first of all, minus the National Hockey League players. From my standpoint, it clearly wasn't a best on best tournament. It was the best description I heard was kind of, it's a Spengler Cup where a number of teams are assembled at the last minute, and that's about the caliber level that we saw.
Yeah, and it was less than a World Championships too. You didn't have the NHL players joining from the playoffs. There's certainly that aspect of it, but you did have a competition level that was high because it was unpredictable, and it was a kind of a mix of junior hockey and the AHL, and a little bit of a way that you didn't know exactly what was going to happen from game to game, and that's what made it fun. I think it actually made it more entertaining than at least more unpredictable than the NHL guys, because you didn't know what was going to happen, and Germany almost pulled it off. But you're right. I mean, in terms of quality of play, it probably was like a Spengler Cup. It probably was like a low-grade World Championships.
Yeah, and is that going to be satisfactory moving forward, though? I mean, personally, I think that they'll be back in 4 years. But would that be satisfactory to have that same kind of tournament moving forward?
No, probably not. And this is why the IOC and the IHF really need the NHL in this. Like there's no going about it now. Attendance was down, interest was down. It's certainly a non-hockey country like South Korea, and we're going to have the same thing in China, that you need the NHL players to draw people in. So as much as it was fun to see the stories of kind of these guys and where they come from to get to that point, no, I don't think the IHF wants that moving forward. And I think they know they need Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid and Patrick Kane and these guys to be in the Olympics, to kind of draw the interest that the Olympics really, like an Olympic hockey tournament actually deserves. Is you need these kind of guys.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that it's going to come without a little pain in some direction of the players and or the league at some point. Do you agree?
Yeah, and that's why the PPA and the potential lockout in 2020 bears watching, because it's going to be interesting to see how much players care about this, honestly, because it's a situation that affects really about 300 guys of a 700 player membership, and maybe even less than that. So how much are you willing to give up as players to guarantee going to the Olympics when you know the NHL kind of wants to go to China, and if the Olympics are in Calgary in 2026, that's an easy go decision for them. And Garrett, he needs to saber rattle certainly about, we're not sure we want to go to China, but I do think there's an interest in China. The NHL is hosting games there. I think there's a benefit for the league long term in going to Beijing. And the question is, who blinks first in the game of chicken for the CBA in 2020 potentially, where we could have a lockout in the same year as Seattle expansion season begins. So who has the leverage now between the players and the league, with potentially a Seattle expansion team coming, with the Olympics looming, with escrow hanging over players, and they're very much not happy about it. And who has the control there? Because I think we all want to see NHL players in Beijing and not this kind of tournament again. But it's fun to see a one-off of this, but I don't think we want to see it become a pattern.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now that we've had all the negatives, let's talk about the positives and the incredible accomplishment of the women's Olympic team in getting that victory over Team Canada. And even though it occurred live at about 2:00 in the morning before the game was finally decided in that shootout, it seems as though there were a lot of people that have seen it. Perhaps a number of them watched it on the replay because NBC did replay the game the next day. But this is something that will help push and grow women's hockey and Olympic caliber hockey in general, I think, too.
It should. And this was the same thing that happened in 1998, where a lot of the players on this team were inspired to start playing hockey or really cared deeply about playing professional hockey and playing at the Olympics, because that 1998 U.S. team won the gold medal in Nagano. And the Cami Granado and that team was such an inspiration for these players that they really do hope. And I spoke with Megan Duggan about this yesterday. She has a cereal box from 1998 autographed, and really decided at that point she wanted to play on that team at the Olympics. Now she's on a cereal box herself. And now she hopes she's the inspiration for future generations of women's players to get more girls playing hockey. And that's going to be the long-term benefit. And it's going to be interesting to see how these women turn what is a great victory tour, media tour, Ellen, Today's Show, the Stadium Series game last night, into long-lasting fame. How do you become stars like Mia Hamm and Lisa Leslie and Diana Taurasi did from their championships at the Olympics to the World Cup? How do you turn that into long-lasting success where you're relevant? Like, all Olympians have the issue of how do you stay relevant in non-Olympic years? And if they're able to stay kind of in the national focus in some way, they're champions. People love them. People were chanting USA, USA in the parking lot yesterday. And people love winners in this country, and nationalism is certainly there. And these women they deserve so much respect because of the boycott threat, because of the contract they earned from USA Hockey, that I think there is a potential there that this is a groundswell of movement toward helping women's hockey grow and become a real, like, sort of like the WNBA professional league in the United States and Canada.
Well, I was going to say that they deserve admiration and their inspirations in more than just being talented hockey players, in championing for equal treatment and equal rights as well. And that's the other part of it that you're right, may be at least as big a story as their Olympic gold medals.
Sure, and that's the part of the story that makes it a fairy tale. That's the part of the story that makes it a real story, is that not only do they win, but this is the completion of a journey. And you talk to these players about kind of what they've done on the ice, what they've done off the ice. It matters more to them what they've done off the ice in terms of earning this contract than it probably does for them to win a gold medal. I'm not saying they don't appreciate winning a gold medal, but the journey to earn a contract is probably more valuable in the long term than winning a tournament.
Stephen Whyno, covering the National Hockey League and previously the Olympics for the Associated Press. @SWhyno is how you follow him on Twitter. Thanks so much for the time today, Stephen. I always appreciate and enjoy it, and I hope we can do it again soon.
Thanks, Todd. Talk to you soon.
Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press. Great accomplishment. And yes, the U.S. Olympic women's team honored for their victory over Team Canada to secure gold in Pyeongchang. It's a great accomplishment. @Hockey Unfiltered, @Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. Before the top of the hour, Stephen Laidlaw will join us, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, some help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. I have a question for Stephen as well. A little concerned. Saw something that he, I believe, said on Twitter last night. I'm a little concerned, and I'm a little bit worried about it. So we'll ask about that. A few other stories as well. We'll look ahead to some of the games on today's schedule and this week's coming schedule as well, and whatever else we can squeeze in the next 30 minutes or so. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with more after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit NovaProductDesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis Sunday edition continues up to the top of the hour at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. We're here every Saturday and Sunday live at 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app through Facebook, Periscope, YouTube Live. And don't forget our podcasts. You can subscribe through iTunes and iHeartRadio, including our Little Saturday podcast. Yes, our regular programs, Saturdays and Sundays, and our Little Saturday podcast, which is a little bit of the weekend in the middle of the week. They drop Wednesday afternoons, little hockey conversation to keep the discussion going in between programs. Just a little hockey talk about whatever has been happening in the NHL in the previous few days and what to look ahead as we get set for the weekend. Going to be a busy Sunday with a nice 7-game schedule. Begins in the afternoon. Philadelphia Flyers with the second stop on the swing through Florida. They had a shootout loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning on Saturday. They will take on the Florida Panthers on Sunday. Nashville is in Colorado, an important game. Nashville's trying to stay on top in the Central Division. Colorado's trying to pick up points to get themselves at least into a wild card position. They are close. Chicago continuing their swing through the West Coast. They defeated the Los Angeles Kings on Saturday, taking on the Anaheim Ducks. Anaheim, San Jose, Los Angeles, all jockeying for position. Vegas Golden Knights beginning a 5-game road trip. This is an interesting time in the schedule for Vegas. Still a pretty good lead over San Jose going into action on Sunday. But a bunch of road games coming up. They have lost 3 straight games. The schedule gets tougher for them going forward. Winnipeg trying to keep the Nashville Predators in sight, pick up points. They're in Carolina to take on the Hurricanes. Detroit is in Minnesota. Wild still fighting for spots in the playoffs as well. Columbus would like to get back into the playoff picture. That is the late game, if you will. 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. local time as the Blue Jackets take on the San Jose Sharks. 9 o'clock, watch the game. It'll be over. You have plenty of time to jump over and catch the end of the Academy Awards if you want, see all the big awards. It's the way to do it. Another topic or two that is going to get plenty of discussion over the final 5 weeks of the NHL season are going to be coaches, going to be most valuable player, who should be the winner of the Hart Trophy. We're past the 3-quarter mark. And I guess you probably still consider Nikita Kucherov of the Tampa Bay Lightning the front runner, but it's a pretty wide open race. There's a lot of players that should at least get a bit of consideration for the most valuable player award. I don't think it's a slam dunk for Kucherov by any stretch of the imagination. He got out to the points lead. He was kind of neck and neck with Steve Stamkos for a while. Kucherov has stayed out front. Stamkos has fallen back just a little bit, although his 5-point game on Saturday will certainly help his cause. But it's probably Kucherov at the moment, but it's also going to bring up the annual argument about should you consider the most valuable player for the Hart Trophy if the team doesn't make the playoffs. If that player's team doesn't make it into the postseason, are they really the most valuable player? I mean, they weren't able to get their team into the playoffs, and it's a reasonable suggestion, but it's kind of comparing different things at the same time as well, because it's a team game. It's the most valuable player to the team. That doesn't mean it equals getting them into the playoffs or playoff success. Connor McDavid is certainly the best player on the Edmonton Oilers. Did you watch the game against the New York Rangers? Yeah, the Oilers lost again. Yeah, the first goal or the first shot on goal went in again against the Edmonton Oilers. But Connor McDavid, what a player. Great elite level skill, top of the league. He is absolutely their MVP. But should he be considered for the most valuable player because his team isn't going to make the playoffs? Look at how he has continued to creep up in the scoring race, right on the heels of the leaders right now. McDavid's humming along, but Edmonton is not going to make the postseason. Is that his fault, though? I mean, he's done everything they can. I still can't believe, if you remember, there were a couple of people who were griping about Connor McDavid early in the season when the Oilers were struggling. Connor McDavid's not doing enough. Yeah, okay, right. He's the problem. Colorado, still not a lock to make the postseason, but Nathan MacKinnon is having himself an unbelievable year. Did it start soon enough in the year? Is the entire body of work for the 82-game schedule what you should consider? What if a player has a 10 or 15-game stretch where they're maybe not up at their peak? But MacKinnon is up near the top of the scoring charts now in the scoring race. Is he worthy of consideration? Again, what if Colorado doesn't make the postseason? Should he be disqualified from being the MVP? I'm not so sure. You can make this case for so many players. Eric Staal, the Minnesota Wild, having himself an unbelievable season. Minnesota's not a lock. Colorado's not a lock. Taylor Hall of the New Jersey Devils. There are some that are trying to push him forward. He should be under consideration as perhaps the MVP of the league. That incredible streak he has been on in terms of picking up points. Missed a few games because of injury around the All-Star break, but had a streak going in, had a streak coming out, up to 24, trying to add to it on Sunday as the New Jersey Devils host the Vegas Golden Knights. He's not in the top 10 in scoring, though. It's not just about scoring, but should Connor McDavid be getting some consideration and some votes for MVP? I would say so. There's probably a few others that I haven't mentioned as well that should be worthy of some consideration. And that's the part that's going to get talked about over the next few weeks. Does the team that the MVP comes from have to make the postseason? I'm not so sure they do. I can make a case for Connor McDavid. I can make a case for Nathan MacKinnon. We know the Edmonton Oilers aren't going to make the playoffs. Colorado's a question mark at best. But those players are certainly worthy of some MVP discussion. I think the Devils will make it. And that's going to put Taylor Hall in the conversation. But whether they make it or not, are any of those players better than Nikita Kucherov? Are they more valuable than Nikita Kucherov? And it depends on how you want to slice the definition of valuable. Most valuable in the league, best player, most valuable to their team. I don't know. It's an interesting one. And the same thing over the next few weeks. It'll probably start to come up a little bit more. I wanted to talk a little bit about it yesterday, but time got away from us and we didn't get into it. As we're past the three-quarter mark of the season, there have still been 0 NHL head coaches fired from their job. 0. None. In the league of disposable coaches, we have had 0 head coaches terminated so far in this NHL season. I'm actually kind of pleased about it, because I think coaches are considered disposable, and that's unfortunate. It's the easiest thing to do for so many teams. Well, teams having a slump, not doing exactly what we thought they should. Fire the coach, get someone new in there to light a fire under their butts. Doesn't solve the problem. It's a temporary fix. But now we'll probably go through the balance of the NHL regular season, the next 5 weeks, and we won't have an NHL head coach fired for the duration of the regular season. And I think that'll be a great accomplishment and one we should be pleased about, that maybe the thinking is shifting a little bit amongst teams and general managers that, well, maybe just firing the coach every 2.5, 3 years or so is not necessarily the right move. What we may end up with is something like a Black Monday after the NHL regular season does conclude, the way it does in the NFL, because as soon as the NFL regular season is over, in fact, it's even started on Sunday nights now, but boom, a bunch of head coaches are out of work and looking for jobs. I don't know that there will be the same number, but I do not believe when the 2018-19 season begins in October of this year that the same 31 head coaches of NHL teams will be in those same jobs. But it makes you kind of think who might go, who might not be in their current situation at the start of next season. It's going to depend on some teams, whether or not they make the playoffs, and it's going to depend on whether teams that are expected to go deep into the playoffs maybe have an early exit. Now, Chicago's one of those teams that isn't going to make playoffs, but I'm just not convinced that Joel Quenneville won't be back next year unless it becomes one of those we have mutually agreed to part ways kind of things that they try to push out. I'm not sure that that's going to happen, though. I mean, if I'm Stan Bowman, I'd give Joel Quenneville another chance to come back next year. That was a flawed roster this year, and there's some work that has to be done. But I think that's going to be an interesting one. But who else might not be back? Doug Wade of the Islanders? I think he comes back. I really do. I think he'll come back. John Tortorella in Columbus? Well, if the Blue Jackets miss, John Tortorella might be missing from the bench. Minnesota, same thing. If they miss, which isn't out of the realm of possibilities, in the wild card right now, but the challenge is real. Or if they exit early, yeah, it could happen. Same with Anaheim. They had high expectations coming into this season. If they miss, or if they don't go very far in the postseason, there could be change there. Again, there should also perhaps be a little roster adjustment. I think in Detroit, Jeff Blashill is back. It's going to depend on the Ken Holland situation, though. If Ken Holland is back, I think Jeff Blashill might be back. Todd McClellan should be fine. Mike Yeo, he should be fine. I don't think Alan Vigneault is going anywhere either. What about Glenn Gulletson? What if Calgary misses? 73 points right now. They've got St. Louis and Colorado between them and the Anaheim Ducks, who hold the final wildcard spot. What if Calgary misses? I think that'll be an interesting one. And I think Bill Peters in Carolina should be fine too, because there's still some work that needs to be done with that roster. But it's going to be an interesting story to follow over the next few weeks. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. Fantasy 5 with Stephen Laidlaw from DauberHockey.com coming right up after the break. We'll have the 5 names, and I also have a question for Steve that we'll get to as well. Look ahead to some of the games coming up today and this week. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you miss the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with Seat Giant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition here Saturdays and Sundays live beginning at 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us at this time every week. It's a regular visit from our fantasy hockey expert, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. Follow him on Twitter at Steve Laidlaw, and Stephen Laidlaw joins us now. Steve, before we get into this, I thought I saw something a little worrisome on Twitter last night, and I just want to ask you about it. Is it true that you have acquired Taylor Hall in your fantasy hockey pool?
Yes. Unfortunately, for all the Taylor Hall owners out there, I've recently acquired him. Therefore, his point scoring streak is most likely to end, and he's probably going to go down in flames, ruining everyone's fantasy.
Why, Steve? Why did you have to do this? Why? I've been so hopeful this year. Taylor Hall, I've been loving it. It's been great. He's having the season this year that I thought he would have last year. Why? Why are you hating us?
I don't know. I couldn't resist.
I don't blame you. He's having a sizzling hot season. It's been great. Okay, well let's at least try to provide some help to others who are looking for some help as well. And name number one on Steve's Fantasy 5 this week is Brendan Gallagher of the Montreal Canadiens, who's piling up points. And the good news is he's one of the few healthy bodies for the Canadiens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean Montreal is one of 6 teams that are going to play the maximum of 11 games over the next 3 weeks. For a lot of fantasy leagues, the next 3 weeks are going to be the head-to-head playoffs. So, I mean, you can maximize your games played by using a guy like Gallagher or someone else off the Canadiens. And, he's playing hot right now. He's got 16 points in his last 18 games. He's shooting the crap out of the puck. He's piling up, over 3 shots on goal per game. We like guys like that. He's a bundle of energy, and right now he's a bundle of points.
Certainly is. All right, name number 2 from Steve's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, is Daniel Sedin of the Vancouver Canucks. Daniel Sedin, goal-scoring machine.
I know, it's crazy. He's got 8 goals and 12 points in the last 8 games. Sizzling hot. They're giving him all the offensive zone starts and top power play minutes alongside Besser and Horvat. So, he's getting those lucrative minutes, and the Canucks, another one of those teams that 11 games over the next 3 weeks. So if the Sedins can stay hot, they're going to be guys who could really tilt the fantasy league for you, even though they haven't necessarily been overly productive over the span of the entire season.
Name number 3 on Steve's Fantasy 5 for this week, hashtag Fantasy 5, is Michael Backlund of the Calgary Flames. Calgary, as you mentioned, has a very favorable schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've only got 10 games in the next 3 weeks, but they've got a really nice off-night schedule. So they, this week they're going Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, the days when there are usually fewer games. So it's a better chance that you'll be able to fit him into your lineup and maximize your number of games played, exposure, potential chance to get points. And it just so happens Backlund, the 3M line's back together for a week healthy, and Backlund's got 6 points in his last 6 games. And the Flames are right on that playoff bubble. They need to heat up, or they'll be golfing pretty soon.
This is the Fantasy 5 with Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, hashtag Fantasy 5. You can follow Steve on Twitter at Steve Laidlaw. Name number 4 this week is J.G. Pajot of the Ottawa Senators. Again, depending on who the players have on their line, this can help. And J.G. Pajot has Mark Stone with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Broussard was Stone's centerman for most of the season, but we see that he got dealt to Pittsburgh. So Pajot is the guy who's stepping up now. And I mean, Stone is producing at a rate at 5-on-5 equivalent to guys like McDavid, McKinnon, Kucherov, the best superstars in the league. Stone's right up at that level. So the fact that Pajot is now getting those minutes alongside him, that's really good news for his fantasy potential down the stretch. He's got 2 goals in the last 2 games. I could see him taking off as we go forward.
And the final member of Steve's Fantasy Five for this week is Riley Nash of the Boston Bruins. He's not one of the big names, but there is benefit in having him as well, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. Patrice Bergeron injured. Who knows how long he's going to be out with that broken foot. But Riley Nash has stepped up onto the top line, so that means he's playing minutes next to Marchand and Pasternak. Those are hugely lucrative minutes. He's got 9 points in the last 10 games. Even when he's been down on the third line, he's had marginal value. So while he's on the top line, I mean, you can use this guy 10 games in the next 3 weeks. There's a decent volume of games played to be had there. So definitely a guy who could be useful in deeper leagues.
Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, at Steve Laidlaw to follow him on Twitter, where you learn facts like he's acquired Taylor Hall in his fantasy hockey. But we won't hold it against you initially, Steve, but if he does go into the tank, you are clearly going to be the one to the blame. So thank you.
Yeah, I will gladly wear yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks, Steve. We'll talk to you soon. Appreciate it. Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. We tease and stuff. It's, of course, it's not going to make a difference in Taylor Hall's performance, whether Steve picked him up or not. But now if he stops scoring goals, now we have someone to blame. And that's what it's all about, is assigning blame. If you missed any of Steve's Fantasy Five, here they are quickly again. Brendan Gallagher of the Montreal Canadiens, Daniel Sedin of the Vancouver Canucks, Michael Backlund of the Calgary Flames, J.G. Pajot of the Ottawa Senators, and Riley Nash of the Boston Bruins. If you missed any of those, we'll tweet out the names. We'll put them up on our Instagram account. We'll put them up on our Facebook page. And of course, they're always available on our website as well. 7 games on the Sunday NHL schedule this week. Some good matchups as well. Playoff implications, you bet. Teams trying to climb in, teams trying to keep place. Philadelphia Flyers and the Florida Panthers, along with the Nashville Predators and Colorado Avalanche, kick things off at 3 p.m. Eastern. Chicago's in Anaheim. It's a 4 p.m. Eastern start. Vegas beginning a 5-game road trip, taking on the New Jersey Devils. And we'll see if Taylor Hall can continue that point streak. That's a 5 p.m. Eastern start. I'm interested to see what happens with Vegas on this road trip. 5 games, lost 3 games in a row. This could be the start of the real interesting portion of the schedule. Winnipeg is in Carolina at 7 Eastern. Detroit, Minnesota, also a 7 Eastern start. And Columbus is in San Jose. It's a 9 p.m. Eastern time start. So if you want to watch hockey, you can just jump over as soon as it's all done and probably catch the end of the Academy Awards. Calgary is in Pittsburgh on Monday, probably the game most worth of note on the Monday schedule. Winnipeg in New York to take on the Rangers. Can the Rangers keep winning? They went out west, won 3 of them in Western Canada. They come back with a real tough test, though, on home ice after a road trip out west. Vegas continues on their road swing in Columbus on Tuesday. Florida, Tampa, the 2 Florida teams going on Tuesday. Tampa, we know, is going to be in the playoffs. The Florida Panthers, they've won 12 of their last 15 games. They are making a case to stay in the playoff conversation. We'll see how long they can remain hot. Dallas and Nashville, a good Central Division matchup coming up on Tuesday. Washington in Anaheim as they head out west. Pittsburgh in Philadelphia. That is the Wednesday rivalry game. That could legitimately be a first-round playoff matchup, a playoff preview. Actually, it's a tough back-to-back for the Philadelphia Flyers because they'll host the Pittsburgh Penguins on Wednesday, and then they will head to Boston to take on the Bruins. Going to be a good week in hockey, going to be some fun games. We're getting closer to the postseason. Only 5 weeks left to go. And 5 weeks from Wednesday, the NHL playoffs begin for 2 months of fun and action. Thanks to Stephen Laidlaw from DobberHockey.com. Thanks to Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press, to Mike Heika from the Dallas Morning News, and to Chris Peters from ESPN. Thanks for listening. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's been a good weekend. Enjoy a great week of hockey that's to come.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit NovaProductDesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag #HUDogOfTheDay, send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.